Final Fantasy XIV is filled with weirdly long and time-consuming achievements, from doing something we would do a lot anyway, a lot, to doing something we probably wouldn't go out of our way to do normally, way more. In this video, I will go over some of the actually most time-consuming achievements, as well as some examples of weirdly long achievements I found on my way there. I have ranked these somewhat based on their relative length, and I have also made different categories for them, which incidentally matches up with the ranking order as well. With that, we start with the category of endlessly farmable, but incredibly time-consuming, and nothing else. Number 10. Levequest III. Complete 10,000 instanced dungeons, raids, or trials. This one sounds hilariously long, however, unsynced content counts, and FFXIV normal counts. By my singular test, it took me around 20 seconds to enter the dungeon, kill FFXIV, exit the dungeon, and be ready to enter again. As such, this achievement would at least take 200,000 seconds, or around 55 to 56 hours from 0 to 10,000, but you probably have progressed it somewhat naturally already. Number 9. Off to the Races 4. Complete 3,000 Chocobo races. Admittedly, I am not exactly that well acquainted with Chocobo races, and this also would highlight that to get every achievement, you would have to become well acquainted with every single aspect of Final Fantasy XIV, as 3,000 Chocobo races are simply not done without getting invested. From my quick estimates, one race takes around 2.5 minutes, but then you have to also exit and enter for another race, so assuming 3 minutes is probably fine. This means that this achievement would at least take 150 hours to complete, and that assumes that there are no queue times, of course. Number 8. For the Hoard VI. Find 20,000 accursed hoards from any deep dungeon. It is an important detail that you simply have to find the hoard. You don't have to loot it or even successfully escape the deep dungeon with it. You just have to find it for the achievement to go up. This means that the most effective way to go about this is to use a strategy that can consistently find you accursed hoards as fast as possible. Now, I am not a master of this particular aspect, so I found PerryTheFridge's guide on the subject quite helpful. I will intentionally be a bit vague on the details so as to not spoil their video, but I will leave a link to their guide in the description for those interested. This tactic requires a little bit of setup, but is doable by floor 11. With the setup, you simply go and see if the hoard is on floor 11, and once found, or if it isn't there, you leave and return in again. You don't have to start a new save. According to Perry's own estimates of 80 hoards per hour when they were going as fast as possible, again, details in their video, this would in fact take 250 hours. Before I move on to another achievement, I do want to highlight that there is indeed also an achievement for finding 100 hoards by accident with no help from the intuition commanders and the like. This one also has its tricks to perform, but as it is only 100, it is a lot more feasible to do this naturally as you play deep dungeons if you have an active interest in this content. This then leads to the second category, which I call luck and skill. Obviously, they also require grinding, but luck and skill is a lot more impactful in this category. Number 7. I hope Mentor will notice me 6. Complete 2,000 Mentor roulettes. If we assume the average Mentor roulette takes around 15 minutes, then this achievement would take 500 hours to accomplish. However, depending on the player, and depending on when they queue and what they queue as, it appears to have an impact. They might get more of different kinds of duties. And while sometimes you will get 3 guild tests in succession that are basically 1 to 2 minute free sprints, sometimes you get Praetorium twice in a row, which takes a lot longer. And sometimes you get an extreme, and while sometimes you succeed those, sometimes you might choose to dip immediately, which still costs you 30 minutes with nothing to show for it, or you stick around for the full hour and don't succeed. Again, no progress. And this can pull the average time up or down. Admittedly, it is very possible that it actually takes 20 minutes on average, or even 30, but I do think 15 minutes is a decent assumption with what we know. Alternatively, you can also view this as a long-term project and only do one mental roulette for the day every day, and if you choose to do that, it would take just about 5.5 years. Number 6. Leader of the Pack. Win 5,000 matches of Crystalline Conflict. If we assume that a Crystalline Conflict match takes around 4 minutes per match, some matches end rather quickly and other matches go way over overtime, so this might be a decent average to assume. If you're playing with equal skill opponents, matchmaking usually leads to an average win rate of around 50%. This means that it should take an average player fighting equally skilled opponents around 667 hours to complete, and this is assuming 0 downtime. This means that in reality, we would have to add the time entering, exiting, and also queuing for Crystalline Conflict, which can vary heavily. If we assume this adds up to an additional 2 minutes, then an average time of 6 minutes per match would lead to 1,000 hours of Crystalline Conflict for this achievement. Naturally, more skilled players can accumulate more wins, and less skilled players might have trouble accumulating wins altogether, hence why this is somewhat skill-based. Oh, there's also the part that you should not simply win 5,000 times with your main, as there are also 5 separate 1,000 win achievements for each of the 5 roles, so you would have to master at least one job in each role while doing this. Number 5. The Amethyst Keel, the Ebony Leaf, and the Rose Gold Scales. Win 1,000 frontline matches for each of the 3 Grand Companies. Note that when you win, it counts which Grand Company you're currently associated with. It isn't checking which one you're representing in that particular match, so this part is in your control. Some players are extremely good at leading frontline matches, and I have seen individuals with over 50% win rate in frontline without it being because of low match count. However, the average player is more likely to have a straight 1 in 3 chance of winning. If we assume that is what you're working with, then you would need to play 9,000 matches. That's probably already not looking very good, but we're not done yet. A frontline match can take up to 20 minutes before a winner is forcibly chosen. However, often a match is decided long before that. If we assume that a match takes an average of only 10 minutes, then this achievement would still take over 1,500 hours to complete of constant frontline, as that, again, doesn't include queuing. Just for the sake of example, if you did one frontline every day since the day the content was implemented, you would have done 3,522 frontlines as of the making of this video. Before we move on, I also want to highlight that there is a 1,000 Rival Wings wins achievement, but because of the incredibly inconsistent queue times for this particular game mode, I don't think I can give you a reasonable estimate of how long that will take. Number 4. Treasure Maps. I am reasonably confident that this achievement takes less time than the frontline ones. However, because this achievement is entirely luck-based, it can be impossible to estimate how long it will actually take. By my count, there are currently 8 different treasure map duty areas with this portal you enter into more treasure. Each of these 8 treasure map types has an achievement for reaching the end of the area 20 times. The exact probability of going further in these areas might be difficult to determine, but even if it was a clear 50-50 between getting kicked out and staying in, some of these have 5 stages. Get 5 coin flips correct. Around 3% chance. Others have slightly more. In other words, it is perfectly possible you need to spend over 1,500 hours on this to beat it, but it is also equally possible you're actually the luckiest person on the planet, and you get them all in exactly 20 tries each per map. This is why I rank this particular set of achievements this high, and that then leads us to the final category, barred from entry. It doesn't matter how time-consuming these objectives are, because there is some sort of cooldown. Number 3. The Hunt. This is a list of achievements. You need 5,000 S ranks, 1,000 of which has to be from Shadowbringers and another 1,000 from Endwalker. You need 10,000 A ranks, 2,000 of which are from Shadowbringers and another 2,000 from Endwalker. So what bars you from progressing this particular achievement is that A ranks and S ranks have spawn timers. Let's start with A ranks, which seem to average around 4 to 6 hours of spawn time, so let's assume exactly 5 hours as the average. There are 12 A ranks in each expansion, with 17 in A Realm Reborn. It is worth noting though that some of the older expansion A ranks fold like paper when attacked, so it is unlikely you would get every spawn of them. With 8 servers in an average data center, sorry Materia, if we assumed that somehow all of the A ranks just so happen to stand ready for you and wait for you and only you whenever they spawn, you would be able to accumulate 96 Endwalker and Shadowbringers A rank kills every 5 hours without leaving your data center. If you did leave your data center, then JP specifically would be able to accumulate 384 A rank kills in both Endwalker and Shadowbringers every 5 hours. Add in Heavensward and Stormblood, and we get a combined 1536. This means that the A rank farm, if we assume everything is absolutely perfect, which they are not, could take as little as 32.5 hours to accomplish, assuming you kill every single one of those 1536 A ranks within a 5-hour time span, every 5 hours on every server in every data center in the JP region. Realistically, you're going to have far less than that, as sometimes you will be sleeping, and sometimes you simply won't make it in time for a specific target. There's also the part that to kill 1536 A ranks in 5 hours, you would have to somehow kill more than 5 A ranks per minute, which is obviously impossible. Which does suggest that in larger regions, this achievement is mostly held back by you potentially missing spawns, but it isn't impossible that you could endlessly farm A ranks all day. For the S ranks, there are 6 in each expansion, and they have a respawn time of 84 to 132 hours, averaging to 108 hours. Unlike A ranks, these require specific actions to spawn. Shadowbringers and Endwalker also have special double S ranks that can spawn as a result of a sequence that can happen after a different S rank is defeated. While also significant for A ranks, it is worth noting that whenever a zone is split up into multiple instances for a patch, each instance has its own S ranks and A ranks and spawn timers, which means there are extra opportunities here. I will ignore this in this video though, as it is not reliable. If we assume you kill every S rank in Endwalker and Shadowbringers every time they spawn in your own server, then you would get 6 kills for each achievement every 4.5 days approximately. If we include Stormblood and Heavensward, this would add up to 24 kills for the overarching S rank achievement. On only one server, this achievement would then take 937.5 days, or over 2.5 years. If you could somehow catch every single S rank that spawns in your data center, this could be reduced to 117 days and a bit. If you could somehow catch every single S rank in your region, and your region is JP specifically, this would be doable in a single month. However, it would also require you to kill one S rank every 7 minutes or so, which might be possible, but incredibly unlikely, to put it nicely. However, there's a core problem with this for both A rank and S rank. There's nothing preventing 2 servers from having and dealing with a specific hunt mark at the same time, and you simply cannot be in 2 places at once. So the more servers we include in the estimate, the more unlikely it becomes. There's also the very real possibility that an A rank or S rank spawns while you sleep, and is dealt with while you sleep. This is why I'm mainly focusing on outlining ranges of how long this could potentially take, as there are a lot of other players involved that makes this less predictable. However, this is all completely irrelevant when we get to the next achievement. Number 2. All of the Levequest achievements. The poster child for stupidly long achievements in Final Fantasy XIV. Now, there are different achievements requiring you to complete a whole bunch of unique Levequests, however, these are completely overshadowed by the 3 main achievements. 5,000 Battlecraft Levequests, 5,000 Tradecraft Levequests, and 5,000 Fieldcraft Levequests. Additionally, there are also achievements to do 500 of each Grand Company's Levequests, adding up to 1,500 on top. Now, the problem isn't actually doing the Levequests. Most Levequests take a couple minutes at most. The problem is that you're only given 3 Levequest allowance every 12 hours, and you can accumulate up to 100 at any one time. This means that you can do nothing on this achievement for around 16 days at no loss. However, you can only progress this achievement whenever you have Levequest allowance. With 6 allowance per day and 16,500 Levequests to clear, it would take you 2,750 days of your character existing at least to even accumulate the necessary Levequest allowance to do this. 2,750 days is slightly more than 7.5 years. No other achievement even comes close to this. However, compared to most of the other achievements on this list, this doesn't take that much effort to fully accomplish. It is more a matter of simply doing it. Once each of the unique Levequest achievements have been dealt with, you can also reduce the time spent and increase the value by focusing on easier, faster and more lucrative Levequests when and if there are any. I should also mention that there are temple leaves in Ishgard which take 10 allowance each to do. However, I'm actually not sure if you even need to do these to finish these achievements, as there is no achievement for completing every leave, but rather achievements for completing a set number of unique leaves in each category, and there appears to be plenty in each category to get these without the temple leaves. And finally, number 1. This one is a bit of a cheeky one, I know, but I want to highlight it because normally seasonal achievements aren't kept around in the achievements list to taunt you in this way, or at least there are introduced ways to do them later. But as of the making of this guide, the achievement It's a Blunderful Life 4, requiring you to win in Blunderville 100 times, is completely impossible to accomplish on account of Blunderville no longer existing. Yeah. That would make that quite difficult, wouldn't it? There are also other examples of this, such as the PvP achievement, A Node Off My Back, which requires you to destroy interceptor nodes exclusive to Borderland Ruins, which is a mode that has been disabled since May 21st, 2023. So, as I led with at the top of the video, this list didn't include every single most time-consuming achievement, but did highlight some that might be deceptively long that you could easily miss if you started working towards every single achievement in the game. With that said, are there any achievements you noticed that seems to take way longer than you expected? I would love to hear about them in the comments. Now, that is all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to support me and my channel more directly, you can become a member like these wonderful people here. You can also alternatively support me through Ko-Fi. You can also support the channel by letting the YouTube algorithm know by liking the video, leaving a comment, subscribing, sharing, and hitting the bell to get notified when next I post a video. Fun fact, the Crystalline Conflict Wins achievement has actually been achievable for longer than Crystalline Conflict has been around. This is because most of these kinds of achievements seem to share their victory state with other modes that have been discontinued, like the Feast and the Fold. This would also have meant that these achievements would have been unachievable if not for a Crystalline Conflict getting tagged onto them.